Ma'am,
Yeah. I'm so sorry. So we are discussing about SJF, right? Shortest job first, right? So what do you mean by shortest job first? What do you mean by shortest job first? Whichever the job is having, right? The shortest burst time, the shortest burst time, that job will be given to the CPU first. Yes or no? Right? Whatever the job is having, that means from the ready queue, that job will be picked and that will be given to the CPU. Yes, right. But what I told you, the difficulty, the problem with the short SJF, the longest job has to wait when the small jobs are arriving, right? The large job has to wait, right? Yes or no? And one more difficulty here is whenever the job is entering into the CPU, before it actually given to the CPU, we don't know how much time exactly it requires, right? We don't know how much time it actually requires to complete the job, right? But what we can do, we can simply estimate the next CPU burst. We can estimate the next CPU burst, right? So the same thing here, what I am showing you here is, right, uh, yeah, shortest job first. So here the difficulty is knowing the length of the next CPU request. When a job is requesting the CPU time, at the time we don't know actually how much time it requires to complete its job, right? So what option we can have, what is the solution for that? What we can do is we can only estimate the length. We can only estimate the length, right? So how we are going to estimate the length is by considering the previous CPU burst. So what we can do is we assume that the next CPU burst will be equal to the length of the previous CPU burst, right? And also it depends on the past jobs, right? The past jobs, right? So here we are using the terms as Tn, Tn plus 1 and alpha. So what is Tn is the actual length of the nth CPU burst. It is the previous job, Tn. Tn is Tn plus 1 equal to what we are taking it as, it is the predicted value for the next CPU burst. When the job is ready, right? And we are supposed to give that to the CPU, we are supposed to predict the burst for that job. We are supposed to calculate the length of that CPU burst. Right? How we are going to calculate it is Tn plus 1 equal to, here n plus 1 madis, Tn plus 1 equal to alpha Tn plus 1 minus alpha Tn. What is alpha? Alpha is a constant which is ranging in between 0 to 1, which is ranging in between 0 to 1, right? So we will see about this alpha in the next slide in detail, right? For now, you understood now what is Tn, what is Tn plus 1, right? So Tn is the previous CPU burst. Tn plus 1 is the predicted CPU burst for the next job, the job which we are going to give to the CPU. Clear? Alpha is some constant which is ranging in between 0 to 1. Yes? Yes or no? Is it clear for you all? Yes. So, how we are going to take this alpha is, right. So, if you take alpha is 0, Tn plus 1 equal to Tn. That means the recent history does not count. So, we are taking only the previous job only. We are taking the next job CPU burst equal to the previous job CPU burst. If you consider alpha as 0, only the previous job we considered, no past history we counted. If you take alpha equal to 1, right? Tn plus 1 equal to alpha Tn. Right? Here the actual last CPU burst counts. If you take alpha equal to 1, right? Only the actual last CPU burst count, right? Here you can expand. You all know you have DA subject ma. In the DA, when we are calculating the time complexity, we use this exponents, right? So here we have the formula like this, no, Tn plus 1 equal to alpha Tn plus 1 minus alpha Tn. And again for Tn, we substitute Tn equal to alpha Tn minus 1 plus 1 minus alpha Tn minus 1. Again Tn minus 1 will be substituted. So that way we substitute, right? This way we are going to expand the formula this way. Right. So what is the approximate value for alpha equal to 1 by 2? So if you take alpha equal to 1 by 2, that means we are considering the past history as well we are considering the last CPU burst. Yes? You got the point? We take the alpha equal to 1 by 2. So if you are taking alpha equal to 1 by 2, that means we are considering both previous job and also the past jobs. We are considering the history as well the previous job to calculate. So that will give you the best approximate value for the next CPU burst. Right? So here it is showing you a prediction lengths, right? So this is the guess values, the down values, and the top values are the actual CPU burst. So here always the approximated value is always a bit more than the actual length. We are approximating a bit high only. The approximated value is a bit high compared to the actual CPU burst. So that means what? We are giving enough time for the job to complete its task, right? So within the time only the job is coming out. So it won't affect your scheduling algorithm. It won't affect. If your guess value is small and it is taking actually the more time than your approximated value, then definitely it will affect the performance of the CPU. Yes or no? We are estimating it as it requires only small amount of time, but it is taking large amount of time. The number of jobs we are executing, the throughput, everything will get affected, right? So here, but here in the actual case, the predicted value is a bit high only compared to the actual CPU burst value. So it won't affect your algorithm. So this is all your SJF. Clear for you all? SJF? Please respond. Yes, very good. So now we try to see the problems, right? We try to see the problems of SJF with preemption. That is preemptive SJF algorithm. And that is also called as shortest remaining time first. Instead of shortest job first, we will call it as shortest remaining time first because it is a preemptive shortest job algorithm. What do you mean by preemptive? I will explain you, right? So before that, I just want to give you one example of FCFS, first come first serve, with the arrival times. In the last class, we have seen the example by taking the arrival values as 0 for all the processes. Right? Now we try to solve the problems with the arrival time for FCFS first. Then we try to see the more examples are SJF, preemptive SJF. Clear? Yes? Can I proceed with the problems? Yes. Yeah. Let's start with this now. So let's see. Initially, let's see this FCFS, right, with the arrival times. So let's consider there are 4 jobs with the times like 3, 5, 4, 7, and the arrival times I am giving as 2, 1, 3, 4. So try to draw the, this is the burst time. See, I'm using so many terms for this burst time, right? I can call it as CPU burst or burst time or service time, or the time required for the process, the CPU time required for the process, right? All these are nothing but the burst values or the service time, right? This is the arrival time. And let's try to draw the Gantt chart for this. Right? Okay, arrival time, so I can start with 0. So I'm giving one more job here with the arrival time 0, so that you won't get confused again. And let's start with 0. Now you tell me which job will be given first. See this diagram and tell me which job will be given first. P5. Very good. P5 will be given first, not P1 ma. Yes, your execution actually starting from 0. At the time of 0, which job arrived? P5, right? So first give P5, then which job will be given? P2, then P1, then P3, then P4. So that way you try to draw the Gantt chart. P5, then P2, then P1, then P3, then P4. Starting with 0, it is completing at 4, and P2 arriving at 4. It was given at 4 and it is coming out at 9. P1 will be given at 9 and it will come out at 12. Then P3 will arrive at 12 and it will come out at 16. P4 arrive at 16 and it will come out at 23. Am I correct? Is my Gantt chart is correct for yes or no? Please draw your own and tell me, am I correct? Yes. Now you calculate the turnaround time and the waiting time. So what is turnaround time? The total time spent by the process to complete its job, right? So that I can say as end time minus arrival time. End time minus arrival time. What is the waiting time? The starting time minus arrival time. Now you tell me what is the total turnaround time, total waiting time, average turnaround time and average waiting time. You please calculate and do let me know. Total ma 572, is it total turnaround time or average? Total. Okay, what is average? How you calculate average? Total by number of jobs. Average 4.6. Okay. Calculate the waiting time also, and I will, let's cross check with the others. So in the last class, we solved SJF problem also, right? With arrival times as 0. Without arrival times, we calculated for SJF also in the last class, right? Yes or no? I think yes. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Yes, tell me what is the waiting times you got? Average waiting time is 3.2. Only 72 is solving. What happened to the others? Is the values are correct? You want me to solve that? Let's start solving. Yeah. So let's start with the turnaround time. Yeah, here I will do turnaround time. Let's start with P1. For P1, the turnaround time is it it completed at 12 but arrived at 2. That is 12 minus 2, right? For P2, it completed at 9 but arrived at 1, plus for P3, it completed at 16 minus 3 because it arrived at 3 only, plus P4, 23 minus 4 plus P5, right? 4 minus 0. So let it be like 10, 8, 13, 19, 4, right? So 18, 19, 20, 21, 31, 40, 54 by 5. So this will be your average turnaround time. 10.8. Yes, 10.8. Am I correct? The total turnaround time and average turnaround time. Yes, is it correct? What I calculated? Yes. Now let's calculate the waiting time here. Right. For P1, the waiting time is it started at 9, arrived at 2. And for P2, it started at 4, arrived at 1. And for P3, it started at 12, arrived at 3. Plus for P4, it started at 16, arrived at 4. Plus for P5, it is 0. It arrived at 0 and started at 0. So 7 plus 3 plus 9 plus 12, right? 19, 20, 31 by 5. 6.2. Yes, am I correct? Yes. So you got the same answers? How many of you got the same answers? Yeah, 6P. 72, in what way you got it as 4.6 ma? And 3.2? Please cross check your problem. Okay, Nana. So that is the difference between the arrival times given and arrival times not given. If the arrival times are not given, we consider the arrival time as 0 for all the processes. Yeah, that is the reason today I want to verify it with arrival times, right? So when the arrival times are not given, consider the arrival times as 0 for all the processes. But when the arrival times are given, you are supposed to consider the arrival times as given. So according to the arrival times only, your turnaround time and the waiting time will be calculated. Are you okay with this problem? First come, first serve with the arrival times. Yes? Okay. Shall I move to this SJF with arrival times? That is preemptive SJF. Yes? Yeah. So let's start the new slide. So for your G section, this was already completed. Preemptive SJF. Can we do for the same problem? Yes, we will do for the same problem. This is preemptive SJF. What do you mean by preemptive? Forcibly, we can take out the job when the job is being executed. With in non-preemptive, until unless the job comes out of the CPU, we are not supposed to take the job out. Forcibly, we cannot take the job out in non-preemptive. In preemptive, yes, you can take the job out in between. Right? The algorithm was defined in such a way, preemptive, non-preemptive. So this preemptive is called shortest remaining time first. Right? The preemptive SJF is also called as shortest remaining time first. Is it clear for you all? Shortest remaining time first, not M. I'm sorry. Yes, shortest remaining time first. Right? Now, let's start with the problem. So let's consider there are 4 processes, P1, P2, P3 and P4, and the arrival times are given this way and the burst time was given like this. So the arrival time are 0, 1, 2, 3. Because this is preemptive, I am telling you that the job can be taken out of the CPU forcibly according to the algorithm. And the burst time here are 8, 4, 9, 5. So listen carefully, ma. If you don't listen, you won't understand. I am telling you, right? So I am trying to draw the Gantt chart here. What is SJF means? The shortest job will be given first. Which is the shortest job among here? Which is the shortest job? P2. But will P2 be given first? No. Why? Because at the time of 0, P2 not arrived. Yes. At the time of 0, there is no jobs arrived. Only P1 arrived. P2, P3, P4 not arrived by the time. So what I am doing is I am giving the job P1. Now, let's consider, right? When P1 is getting executed, listen carefully. When P1 is getting executed, right? After it got executed for one burst, for 1 millisecond or whatever, the P2 job arrived with the less burst time. P2 job arrived with the less burst time, right? So here P1 executed only for one time, one burst, and here how much is remaining? 7 is remaining, right? But now at time 1, P2 arrived with the shortest burst time. P1 requires 7 more milliseconds, but P2 requires only 4 to do its job. So immediately P1 will be taken out of the CPU and P2 will be given. Listen to me. Don't get confused here because it is preemptive. After P1 executed for 1 millisecond, right? P2 arrived with less burst time. So when P2 arrived, there are only P1 and P2 jobs, right? So P1 requires 7 more and P2 requires only 4. So P2 will be given, right? Now, when P2 is getting executed, after P2 executed for 1 milliseconds, P3 arrived. B3 arrived. Now, P2 will be taken out or will be continued? You're supposed to tell me. When P2 is getting taken, continued, yes, it will be continued. Why? Because after, means at the time of 2, P2 is required with only 3 burst and P3 entered with 9 burst. So which is smallest? P2 only. So P2 will be continued. And after time 3, P4 is also arrived, right? But by the time P2 is required only 2 more to complete its job. So here you can count these as CPU cycles. So P2 is left with only 2, but P4 requires 5. So P2 will not be taken out until it complete its job. So P2 will come out only at 5. So here the job P2 is over. Now what are the remaining? P1 is remained with 7, P3 with 9 and P4 with 5. So at this time all jobs are arrived. At the time of 5, P1, P3, P4, all 3 are arrived, but we only consider the service time. So the next job we will give is P4, right? So 10, then P1, 17, then P3, 26. Can you able to understand this Gantt chart? Yes? Can you able to understand? Yes, very good. Now calculate the turnaround time and waiting time. You can easily calculate the turnaround time. You do it. Then I will tell you the waiting time procedure. Why? Because in between it was taken out. No, the waiting time here will differ, right? When the arrival times are given, right? For waiting time, it is not only the starting time minus arrival time. In between how much time it waited also we should consider. So here the waiting time is nothing but how much time it waited in the ready queue, how much time it waited for the IO, right? Everything will be counted. So I will tell you how to calculate the waiting time for the preemptive algorithms. For the preemptive algorithms, right? So are you calculating the turnaround time? Do let me know what is the total turnaround time and total waiting time. Sorry, average turnaround time. 53 is total. Let's cross check with the others. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, simultaneously let me also complete so that I also will cross check the answers with you. Turnaround time for P1 is 17 minus 0. For P2, 5 minus 1. For P3, 26 minus 2 plus P4, 5 minus, sorry, for P4, 10 minus, uh, yeah, uh, for P4, it is 10 minus 3. So that is 17 plus 4 plus 24 plus 7, right? 17, 21, 25, 45, 52 by 4, 13. You got the same? 52 by 4, 13. Yes or no? Is my answer is correct? Yes. Okay, very good. Now let's see how the waiting time is calculated. So concentrate here, all of you. Yeah, waiting time for P1. So initially it arrived at 0 and it was given at 0. So there is no waiting time initially. But in between it was taken out. So it was taken out at 1 and it waited till 10. So this between time will also be considered as the waiting time. So P1 was taken out at 1 and again it got the CPU at 10. So 10 minus 1. This 9 will come for the job 1, P1. For P2, it arrived at 1 and it got the job at 1. So there is no waiting time in between. So it is 0. For P3, it arrived at 2, but it was given at 17. So 15, 17 minus 2. For P4, it arrived at 3 and was given at 5. So 5 minus 3, 2. So 9 plus 15 plus 2. How much? 26 by 4. Correct? Am I correct? 26 by 4. That is 6.5. Yes. So you understand, no? Ma'am, could you repeat? Yeah. Why not? See. So here the problem is only with the waiting time of P1. Why? Because P1 was taken out in between. So initially, if you take P0 arrived at 0 and it was given 0. Okay. But When it was given to the CPU, it was preempted, it was taken out of the CPU at the time of 1. And again, when it got the CPU time at the time 10. So in between time, P1 waited, right? So that is the reason I have written 0 plus 9 for P1. For P2, it arrived at 1 and it got the job at 1, and in between, it was not waiting. In between, it was not taken out of the CPU. So the waiting time is 0. P3, it arrived at 2 and it got the CPU time at 17. And in between, it was not preempted. So 15. P4, it arrived at 3. It got the CPU at 5. So how much time it waited? For 2. That is how we calculate 6.5. Clear? Surya Teja? Padma Surya Teja. So shall we move to the next algorithm, that is priority algorithm? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, priority algorithm. See, in this priority scheduling algorithm, each job will be given a number, that is the priority, right? Every process will be given a priority. So that priority will be given according to the integer numbers, right? So here the CPU is allocated to the process with the highest priority. So if the process priority is 1, means it is having the highest priority. The smallest integer equal to the highest priority, right? So in this priority algorithm also you have a preemptive and non-preemptive, right? So here this priority SJF is also a type of priority algorithm, I can say, where the priority is the predicted next CPU burst. So in SJF, how we give the processes, the job which is having the less, the next CPU burst time will be given, right? And here it also facing the problem with the starvation ma. That means here the low priority processes may never execute. We are giving only the higher priority jobs to the CPU. The lower priorities will be like that only, will never get the chance. Right here, what is the solution is aging. Aging means as the time is progressing, we increase the priority of the processes. Right, we give the priority increase +1 like that. So that low priority job also will get some kind of high priority after this aging, so that it will get the job. Clear? Clear for you all about this priority? Yes or no? A priority. Understand? Yes. So again, let's try to solve the problem according to the priorities. Yes. Priority scheduling, I can call it as, right? So take an example here, P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5, right? Burst times I'm giving as 10, 1, 2, 1, 5. This is the service time or burst time. Then take the priority uh, 3, 1, 4, 5, 2. So draw the Gantt chart for this. So here consider arrival time is 0 for all the processes, right? So we try to calculate the turnaround time and the waiting time. So total and average, right? So now you tell me which job will be given first. Yes, arrival time is 0 for all the processes. Which was given first? P2, because it is having the priority 1, highest priority. Then after P2, P5 will be given. Then P1 will be given. Then P3. Then P4. Now you calculate the total turnaround time and the waiting time. Quick. Yeah. Average turnaround time 12, average waiting time 8.2. So let me calculate. So initially, which job will be given first, ma? Which is having the high priority, that is P2, the first time 1. So 1. Then which will be given P5, 6. Then P1, 16. then P3 18, then P4 19, right? So coming to this turnaround time for P1, that is 16, P2 1, P3 18, P4 19, P5 6, right? So this divided by 5. You do the addition part and tell me, am I doing it correct? 19, 20, 38, 39, 40, 50, 60. 60 by 5, 12. Coming to this waiting time, P1 6 plus, yes or no? P1 6, P2 0, P3 16, P4 18, P5 1, right? 12, uh, 30, 46, 47 by 5. Am I correct? 8 point, no, 9.4. Am I correct with this? Waiting time, P1 waiting time is 6, P2, sorry, this is 0. I'm doing the wrong calculation. Right? Yeah. 6 plus 16 plus 18 plus 1. Right? 16, 7, 22, 30, 41 by 5. 8.2. Yeah, correct. Correct, no? 12, 8.2. Now, let's see with the arrival times. Right? I try to give you one more example of this priority with arrival times. So this priority also we have non-preemptive and preemptive ma. So first we will see the non-preemptive priority with arrival times. Then we will see the preemptive, right? With arrival times, right? So here, do this priority which is non-preemptive. But I am giving with the arrival times, right? So let's consider there are 5 jobs, P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5 with the burst times 4, this is 3, 1, 5, 2. This is the burst time. Then I'm giving the priorities here like this, priority value. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. The arrival times are 0. The arrival times are 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Draw the Gantt chart for this. So initially at the time of 0, how many jobs are arrived? Please tell me. Here in this problem, at the time of 0, what are the processes that are arrived? See carefully. P1, only P1 arrived at the time of 0. But even though it is having the priority 4, there is no other processes, P1 will be given. Please follow this. See, when the arrival times are given, according to the arrival times only, we are supposed to give the jobs. Right? At the time of 0, there is no other processes, but only the P1 is there. Because this is non-preemptive, even though the P1 is having less priority, P1 will not be taken out unless it completes. So it is coming out at time of 4. This point is clear? Because it is non-preemptive, right? The job will not be taken out until it completes a job and it itself is releasing the CPU, right? You are getting me now? It is clear till this P1 job. Now, when P1 completed, when P1 completed, four. So by the time of 4, here the remaining all the jobs arrived. P2 arrived, P3 arrived, P4 arrived, and P5 arrived. Yes or no? By the time P1 complete its job, it completed the job at 4. But by the time 4, if you see P2, P3, P4, see here if you see P2, P3, P4, P5, all are arrived by the time 4. Now, when you have more jobs, now the priority should be considered. And remember, when the more than one job is having the same priority, then according to their order, we should again follow the FCFS. So here if you take P3, P4, both are having the same priority, but P4 arrived at 3, P5 arrived at 5. So which one arrived first? P4. So next I am giving the job P4, then I am giving P5, then I am giving P3, then I am giving P2. This is clear for you all, the Gantt chart? Yes or no? Yes. Now accordingly you would draw this. The values P4, it arrived at, means it was given at 4. P4, how much time it required? 5. So 9. P5, 11. P3, it requires only 1. P2, it requires 3. So 15. Now you calculate the turnaround time and the waiting time. Here arrival times are given, so careful. Consider the arrival times and do let me know the answers. Tell me what is the average and what is the total turnaround times. Have you taken these values in your running notes? Again, you all switched off your cameras. Six P, yours is not on, ma. I'm not seeing your camera. Seven H. I will give you one more formula for waiting time. It also can be calculated as turnaround time minus burst time. I think it is easy formula. Average turnaround time 8.2, very good. Average waiting time 5.2, very good. 79, why you got 7.2, ma? It should be 5.2. 0, 11, 9, 1, 5. You should get the values that way. Right? For the waiting time, write down the new formula. It is easy. Even though it is preemptive, non-preemptive, whatever, you can easily calculate the waiting time as turnaround time minus burst time. Let's try to solve one more problem. Or else for the same problem, we try to do it with the preemptive. We try to do it with the preemptive. Is it okay? Ma'am, how waiting time is 5.2? Seema, for P1, what is the waiting time? It arrived at 0 and it got the CPU at 0. So this is initially 0 for this. Right? For P2 process, it started at 12, but its arrival time is 1. So 11. For P3, it started at 11, it arrived at 2. For P4, it started at 4, arrived at 3. Plus for P5, it started at 9, arrived at 4. So 11 plus 9 plus 1 plus 5. 26 by 5. Understood, Rohit? Six D. It's clear? Okay, fine. So for the same problem, we try to do it with the preemptive. That means P1 is getting executed, but at the time 1, the other job P2 arrived with the highest priority than P1. So P1 will be taken out and P2 will be given. Right? And again at the time of 2, P3 arrives with again the highest priority. P2 will be taken out, P3 will be given. So that way it will be done. So we try to solve that problem. So is it clear for you all non-preemptive priority? Shall I start preemptive priority algorithm with arrival times? Yes? Yeah. Seema, are you following the scheduling algorithms? You still have any doubts? If anyone having the doubts, do let me know. Right? If you are unable to solve, if you have any doubts while solving, you can ask me in the chat box. I will explain you. Don't hesitate to ask me because these are very, very important and one pakka question from this unit from the CPU scheduling algorithms. Clear? Right? Now, so I will take the new slide. So, preemptive priority scheduling. Right? Yeah, processes are P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. The arrival times are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The burst times are 4, 3, 1, 5, 2. And the priorities are given like this 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is the arrival time, this is the burst time and this is the priority. Clear? Let's start with the Gantt chart. So, and be careful, concentrate while I am explaining this Gantt chart for the preemptive, right? So initially at the time of 0, only P1 is there and P1 is getting executed. So P1 got executed for 1, P1 got executed for 1, but at the time P2 arrived with the burst priority, right, with the highest priority. Here the priority is 3, but the current process priority is 4. So the highest priority will be given. So P1 will be taken out and P2 will be given, right? So P2 got executed for one time, right? It got executed at one time. Now at the time of 2, P3 arrived with the priority 2. So it is having the highest priority comparatively P2, right? So now P3 will be given, right? So P3 got executed for 1. P3 got executed for 1. So at the time of 3, P4 is arrived with the highest priority. So P4 will be taken, right? But at the time of 4, P5 arrived, but P4, P5, both the priorities are same. P4 will not be taken out. P2 will be completed its job. So P4 is having the burst time 5, so it will come out at 8. Then at the time of 8, all are arrived, so only the priorities matters. P5 will be given, P5 will come out at 10, right? And then P4 is completely over. Here it was done, right? Only P3 is also done, right? It is having only one burst time, so it won't require the next CPU cycles. Its job is done, right? Then we are left with only P1 and P2. P1 remaining is 3, P2 remaining is 2. So next P2 will be given for 2 cycles. At 12 it will come out. Then P1 will be given with 15. Right? So this is how the Gantt chart will be there for the preemptive priority scheduling, right? Now you can calculate the turnaround time and the waiting time. So turnaround time for P1 it is 15, for P2 12 minus 1, for P3 3 minus 2, 3 minus 2 plus P4 8 minus 3, for P5 10 minus 4. This is not plasma, this is minus only, that is the brace. So if you calculate the total turnaround time, it will be 38, I think. 38 divided by 5, you will get as 7.6. This Gantt chart is okay for you? You understand? Once again, okay. Seema, because it is preemptive, when a job is getting executed, in between, if a new job arrives with the high priority, the current job will be taken out and the high priority job will be taken in. So initially, at the time of 0, there is no other processes. So P1 was given even though it is having the priority number 4, right? So when P1 got executed for one cycle, one burst, P2 arrived. Here the P2 priority is more compared to P1. So P2 will be given. So after one more burst for P2, right, at the time of 2, P2 arrived with highest priority than P2. So P3 will be given, right? So at the time of 3, right, here it is having only 1. So P3 will be completing its job by the time of 3, right? So P3 is done by the time of 3. P4 arrived with the highest priority, so P4 will be given. But at the time of 4, P5 is arrived, but P4, P5 both are having the same priority. P4 will not be taken out. P4 complete its job, then P5 will be given. P5 is completing its job. Then the left jobs are P1 and P2 only. They are already completed for one cycle, and the remainings are like this 3 and 2. So among P1 and P2, P2 is having the high priority because so P2 will be given, then finally P1 will be given. So this way they are going to be given to the CPU. So this is the turnaround time. So for the waiting time, you can calculate this way, ma. So turnaround time minus burst time. So this way also you are going to get that, as I told you. Let's try with that new formula. Waiting time equal to turnaround time minus burst time. Right? 15 minus 4, then 11 minus 3, then 1 minus 1, that is 0 only, then 5 minus 5, 0, then 6 minus 2, that is 4. So that way you will get the average waiting time as 4.6. Yes, very good, 7B. So this is how your non-preemptive and preemptive priority, and we are left with round robin. In the next class, we will see the round robin problems part. We will be completing with round robin, ma. Then next what we have are only the theory, right? The next two algorithms, only the theory part we are multi-level queuing, right? Like that we have no. Those will be theory only. We will be discussing. So in the next class, we hope we can complete the scheduling algorithms, right? So this is all for today. All are means this problems are clear for you all, or still you have any doubts? Are you able to understand? Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I will do one thing. You have a quiz today, which is having only 13 questions. So try to complete the quiz. Then after, I will forward you the problems for FCFS and SJF. I have some set of problems, right? So those problems, I will send you the document. You try to solve those problems in your running notes, which we already solved. Ignore them, which are not solved in our class. You try to solve them, right? So in the next class, we will discuss those problems, and I will share you the solutions also in the next class for the problems which I am giving you today. Right? Is it okay? Right? You try to solve these problems in your running notes only. So thank you guys. With this, I am stopping the class.